Hi everyone. In this video, we'll be discussing how Dana White can rescue UFC 310 from low pay-per-view numbers. UFC 309 has wrapped up and we are on to UFC 310, the year's final pay-per-view. What's particularly intriguing about this main event is that it's for the flyweight title, which is a rare occurrence for a UFC pay-per-view event. Just ask Demetrious Johnson. On his YouTube page, he talked about how they didn't give pay-per-view points to flyweight guys. The UFC particularly told him that. Lightweight fighters, welterweight fighters, middleweight fighters, heavyweight fighters, they all told DJ that once they became champion, they received $500,000 flat, and it went straight into their contract. They got pay-per-view points every single time. And Demetrious Johnson never got that, which is a real shame considering that he was the #1 pound-for-pound fighter at that time. Dana White has discussed shutting down the flyweight division numerous times over the years. In 2017, the UFC boss cited in a TMZ interview that Demetrious Johnson has the lowest selling pay-per-view in the history of the UFC in the modern era. 7 years later, the lowest selling pay-per-view of 2024 for the UFC was headlined by the current flyweight champion, Alexandre Pantoja, which was UFC 301. Pantoja is set to headline the next pay-per-view against Kai Asakura, who will be making his UFC debut for UFC 310. How will the UFC prevent another low-selling pay-per-view for UFC 310? Fortunately for the UFC, the answer's right in front of them. On December 7th, the most dominant champion that the UFC has will headline UFC 310. That's right, the UFC's most dominant champion is Pantoja, a flyweight. The Brazilian champion is 9-0 against the top 15 fighters in his division. His 9 victories against ranked opponents are the most among UFC active champions. The following best is a tie between Merab Dvalishvili and Belal Muhammad, who have 5 each. Pantoja's remarkable success illustrate that he is the best champion that the UFC has, especially in a competitive flyweight division. Since Demetrious Johnson lost his title in 2018, there have been 7 champions in the UFC's flyweight division, including interim champions, and that is tied for the most with the middleweight division in that time period. However, the middleweight division has had multiple champions with multiple title defenses: Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis. At flyweight, Pantoja was the only champion to have multiple title defenses in that time span. In fact, Pantoja is just one of 2 fighters in the flyweight division who have successfully defended the belt multiple times. It's Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson and Pantoja. So here's what the UFC should do. The UFC has sold Jon Jones as the greatest MMA fighter of all time for 2 reasons. First, there's strong evidence to support that claim. Second, Dana White promotes Jon Jones as the greatest of all time any chance he gets. Pantoja has one of those 2 things going for them. To avoid the pitfalls of previous low-selling pay-per-view events headlined by flyweights, the UFC should market Pantoja for what he is: a great champion worthy of attention, similar to the way notable champions like Alex Pereira, Jon Jones, and Ilia Topuria have been promoted in recent years. Pantoja's impressive track record and dominance over ranked opponents, speaks volumes. There is a significant opportunity for the UFC to elevate the division's visibility and viability in the eyes of the fans. By highlighting Pantoja's achievements and the division's really competitive nature, the UFC could potentially draw in viewers and reshape the narrative around flyweights, which would strengthen not only the division, but the UFC as a business. Pantoja allows the UFC to tell an engaging story if they can effectively market his accomplishments and, the style of fighter he is. They should reach beyond their diehard supporters and into the casual fan base, which would significantly increase pay-per-view sales. If Pantoja delivers an exciting competitive fight, which historically he always does, it would be a massive win for the UFC. The UFC has the perfect opportunity to increase its profitability and sustainability while simultaneously creating more opportunities for fighters to compete by saving the flyweight division. Pantoja is the perfect champion for them to take action and take advantage of this incredible opportunity. UFC 310 is a strong card overall. Ciryl Gane and Alexander Volkov is an intriguing heavyweight matchup, but the promotion and media will focus on the co-main event between the two undefeated fighters, Ian Machado Gary and Shavkat Rakhmonov. And how could they not? What an exciting fight. Obviously, Pantoja is not the biggest name fighting on the card for UFC 310. Fighters such as Ian Machado Gary, Ciryl Gane, and Shavkat Rakhmonov are much larger brands than Pantoja. It is no secret that the UFC pays more attention to the fighters who promote themselves and build their brand and promote the organization. The media focuses on the same type of guys. This is just how the business side of things works, and that's really going to play a factor into what direction the UFC and the media will go in to promote this fight. Expect to hear a lot about Ian Machado Gary and Shavkat Rakhmonov leading up to December 7th. That being said, I think the UFC does an excellent job of recognizing talent and stars for them to promote. And I think the fans realize who are the most interesting and intriguing fighters. That being said, I think we are all missing the mark with Pantoja. I think we've missed an incredible opportunity. He is the fighter on the roster who should be promoted more than he is. He is a relentless and entertaining fighter, as well as a champion who has beaten the best of the best. He has all the ingredients to become a superstar. The UFC clearly likes him. He is a flyweight who is headlining his second pay-per-view of the year. That's unheard of for the UFC. But old-fashioned promotion from Dana White and the UFC hyping up Pantoja's ability and the flyweight division would be beneficial for the UFC brand. Dana White's word carries a lot of weight in this business. He needs to use it to help promote Pantoja. It is incredible that this guy is not an absolute superstar yet in the UFC. He has all the intangibles and all the characteristics. He checks all the boxes of what a superstar should be. My biggest wish is that happens for him in 2024 and 2025.